You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, which is presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
Sadly, nature needs our help more often than not.
And when it comes to the repopulation of American shad in the Nanticoke, that help can be found in Laurel.
I'm an environmental scientist with the state of Delaware. My main focus is natural species restoration, primarily American shad restoration here on the Nanticoke River. And today I'm just going to walk through how we go about collecting shad for the hatchery, as well as giving you a quick tour and look into the hatchery as well. So this is our electrofishing raft that we use in order to collect our shad. It's a very custom raft. It's a Zodiac raft, about 16 feet. It was rigged up so we can get into shallow waters up into the headwaters of the Nanticoke. On this raft, of course, we have the cathodes and we have anodes that are used to give a slight shock to the fish, just shock them enough to stun them and bring them up and allow our netter to be in the front of the boat and allow them to net the fish up. We also have a holding tank on board that we use to hold up to like 10 to 20 fish at most. Our goal is to collect them while they're in the system spawning and bring them back to our hatchery so they can spawn in our hatchery. We then move and store the fish into this tank here. This is our holding / transport tank. We hold up to around 400 gallons of water in here. I'm comfortable holding around 40 fish. And again, similar to the raft, we have oxygen on board, as well as a pump that keeps water circulating. Once we do collect the fish, we do collect biological data from the fish. We get scale samples that we use for aging. We get length and sex of the fish as well too. One of the things we also do with the fish is we implant a transmitter in the fish that allows us to have a unique identification code on each fish so we can kind of track when we catch that fish, if we catch that fish again. We scan every fish that we bring on board so we will know if we caught that fish in the past. Once we actually bring the fish back in our transport tank, we immediately deposit them in here. Essentially, this is a 15-foot in diameter tank. We hold roughly maybe 1,000 or so gallons of water in here. And I'm comfortable holding 100, 120 adult American shad in here. We have in the center of this spawning tank, we have a standpipe that allows the eggs when they spawn to go through the standpipe. And this basically feeds the eggs out of here inside of our egg collection tank, which is this area here. And we check this every morning, and if there are eggs in here, we then move the eggs from this tank into our egg jars, essentially. The eggs will stay in this until they're about ready to hatch, which is between 3 to 7 days, depending on the water temperatures. And here we allow the fish to hatch out into our culture tanks. Prior to stocking them, we do mark them because since they're hatchery fish, we have to be able to distinguish them from wild fish or native fish. And to do that, we put a mark on them using oxytetracycline, OTC. It's just a soluble powder that we put into the water that creates a distinguishable mark on the inner ear bone or the otolith of the fish. If we get a fish from another system, say further down from Maryland, we'll actually be able to determine if that was a Maryland fish versus our Delaware fish. I typically keep them in here no more than 3 weeks. I found that around after 4 weeks, the mortality rate starts to increase. Once I start noticing mortality happens, I then release the fish, which happens between like 3 to 4 weeks. They are a very popular forage fish for a lot of species. When they're eggs, bluegill and other sunnies will prey upon them. Once they get a little bit bigger, then largemouth bass and crappie or white perch will prey upon them. Until once they get to adult size, then you have ospreys, eagles, striped bass, bigger catfish, and even bigger largemouth bass will prey upon them. And that's only in our system. Once they go out into the ocean, then they have a whole nother host of creatures there that will prey upon them. I tell everybody I'm actually working to not have a job, because my goal before I retire is to have this population to a point that this hatchery is not needed. I think this is important to do because one, American shad is such an important forage fish for so many other like recreationally important species, from striped bass to largemouth bass. And just bringing back this species will help so many other species as well too. I'm just a fisher at heart, so anything that gets me on the water fishing, I love it.
We've got more stories like this coming up with Denrec in the near future.
But up next, we're checking out some viewer photos, so stick around.